Hi there. This is Arjun Nagarajan from Sundaram Mutual Fund. Let's take a quick couple of minutes on today's budget. Now, the budget saw four focus areas: the farmer, poor, youth, and women, with deliveries around employment, skilling, MSMEs, and the middle class. Now, in addition to that, we also heard rationalization on capital gains tax and also simplifying the new tax regime. Now, these were broadly the narratives that you heard Mrs. Sitharaman, our finance minister, talk about. Now, apart from that, what did the budget numbers look like? We had five key pointers, just five key pointers from the budget. Now, first point on the fiscal deficit, we saw quite a surprise in the fiscal deficit. The budget delivered 4.9% of GDP on the fiscal deficit, which is 20 basis points lower than what the interim budget had actually priced it in the month of February this year. Second, it's just not 4.9%. When you look at fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP, what is really important is what is your nominal GDP assumption like? Is it very exaggerated, or is it a realistic number? So your nominal GDP number was very realistic at 10.5% growth for FY25. Third, what was your tax buoyancy like? You had tax buoyancy. So tax buoyancy is your tax number as a percentage of GDP. Is that going up or is that coming down? So if you're seeing tax buoyancy go up, you would actually want to see the tax to GDP number go up. So for corporate taxes, you saw a muted tax buoyancy, which means you saw 3.1% of GDP on corporate taxes, which was exactly where FY24 closed at. But on personal taxes, given you saw rationalization on the taxation front and some commentary around STT, you saw a 10 basis points increase in personal income taxes at around 3.6% or so. So from 3.5, it goes to 3.6. Now, this was the third point. Now, fourth point, the mix on spending, which is capital expenditure and revenue expenditure, it remained intact. 77-23 was the ratio we saw in the interim budget in February this year. That remains intact at 77-23 for the current budget as well, final budget. Now, the last point on CAPEX. Now, CAPEX, the 11 lakh crore number remains exactly the same, which is 3.4% of GDP. But the way you look at CAPEX is what is the center spending on CAPEX? And second is outside of the center budget, what are your quasi-government entities, the PSUs, spending on CAPEX? Now, if you add them together, this 3.4% of GDP number actually moves up to around 4.5% of GDP. Now, center's CAPEX plus your quasi-government CAPEX, you add that together, you're seeing a 20 basis point increase in your CAPEX number. So from 4.3% of GDP, it goes up to around 4.5% of GDP. So 5 quick points recap. One, your fiscal deficit number is much lower than what the budget had actually penciled in February this year, 20 basis points lower at 4.9. Second, a very realistic nominal GDP growth number of 10.5%. Tax buoyancy, you're actually seeing an increase in tax buoyancy on personal income taxes front. Fourth, you're seeing the CAPEX and REVEX ratio remain pretty much the same as it was envisioned in February. And lastly, as the total CAPEX, you're seeing a 20 basis points bump up in total CAPEX to around 4.5% of GDP. Now, in short, what we've actually seen is what the government got from February to July was the additional RBI dividend. Now, we can see that the government has actually spent this additional RBI dividend on housing, on labor, and agri ministries, alongside quite an appreciable increase in transfer to the states as well. This is Arjun Nagarajan signing off, and that was your quick update on the budget. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.